this.
Welcome everybody to ZenOne podcast. I have a special guest by the name Jordan Lorenz, who is with Dental City and been with Dental City for a very long time, because I've been with Dental City for a very long time. And today, with no introductions, I want to jump right into the video that I think you posted about AI automation, or just in general automation of the warehouse. So that allows you now to pretty much get the order, package, ship it in what? Like a couple hours? Or what are the metrics that you're looking at when you're building a project that optimizes the workflows?
Sure. So I think we got to get the experts on the phone at some
Not
point,
us,
right?
obviously.
Not me. You can ask the questions. I'm certainly not the expert in this space. But let's look back. Dental City's been around for 31 years, right? We've always been based in Green Bay, Wisconsin. We've been a dental distributor for 31 years. Fantastic, type of story where you have three guys that built the business from absolutely nothing in their apartment, and were able to ship gloves and infection control products across the country, right? So now you look in our warehouse and you have 21 robots running around in there, 3 vertical lift modules, and just still a privately owned organization. It doesn't get much better than that. What a great story, right? And you talk about warehouse automation, and we look at it it's supply chain excellence. We have to be great at supply chain to compete in the new world. And then you look at competitors that have distribution centers all over the country. Well, we have one distribution center in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and yet we're able to ship across the country in 2 days. And part of that is you have to be really, really great at what you do within your warehouse, within your distribution center. And that's how you master supply chain. And one of the things metrics we track, for example, is your misship rate. So you put something like this in, and we were already doing a really nice job from a misship perspective, meaning we were shipping the right things to the right people. They're getting it on time, right? So you look at misship rate, and you put something like this in, you go through this huge project of adding, again, 21 robots and a complete reconstruction of the warehouse. And, I'd love to show you some of the before and afters and stuff like that, because it's unreal, right? And
yeah, we'll include it in a pod. You will send me the stuff and I will include the videos. As you talk, there will be some videos playing in the background.
Okay. So you think about you have an unreal staff down there, first of all, and now they're going to adapt to working side by side with robots. And it went so incredibly well. And it comes from the planning, from the owners planning the work, the incredible IT team that we had that put it in, fantastic partners that helped do it all, right? You pick the right partner, you go through a bunch of research, and you want to get it right, because you go from this ability to get things to people on time, get the practice the right stuff, because that's what they expect. You can't take a step backwards, right? You just need to do it more efficiently, but just that much better. You can't go backwards. And I think we really got a lot of that stuff right. It's been really fun to watch, and you go downstairs now and it's cool. If you go down there when it's really humming, you got all these robots that are just flying around, and it's a pretty cool experience. It really is.
Do you feel like you're in a video game?
Yeah. I mean, so I had this kind of thought. I was like, it would be cool, my kid, I got 3 kids, right? 3 boys. And they play video games all the time. And one of the things I said, they play that one video game. I don't know if anyone's seen it, or maybe they have kids, right? Where they're building pizza, and then you got to ship the pizza out the door. So a person comes in, they say they want sausage pepperoni, right? And you got to make sure you cook it on the right crust. And this is the video game they play. I'm like, just get a real job, right? They can't. The oldest is only 11. But anyway, it's it will be so cool to build a video game of what's going on in the warehouse. You are driving a robot around the warehouse, and it's got to go to the right pick station for the right product. Now you got to put it in the right tote. And when you see it all come together, I mean, it's like a little bit of magic. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. Why would customers care about this?
Well, I think so.
Dental office.
Number one, right? It's about getting the right stuff. It's about the practice getting the right goods in order for them to continue working, right? If you don't have the right things, it's a bad day. Dental practices, we're an extension of their supply closet. So they have to get the right stuff at the right time. They order frequently. There's not always a lot of storage in a dental office. So in order to get the right things at the right time, you have to pick a partner that can do it efficiently and is ready to scale, right? That's the other piece. The robot piece really allows us to scale, to grow as practices grow and to grow as our organization grows. And I think that's why you do it. Why does it matter to a practice besides getting the right thing at the right time? I think part of that is when we can do all of this out of one distribution center in Green Bay, and we don't have to go, out and do this from multiple areas because we have a really good shipping partner that allows us to get stuff out in 2 days, right? When you can do it all here in Green Bay, you have that opportunity to really kind of control the quality of what's being picked, how it's being packaged, how it's being shipped. You start to open up, distribution centers in other places. It's a whole new place. You got to have quality control. It's a whole new place. You got to, instill the culture and the values and part of what we do is our culture is great. You got the full court basketball court, you got the pickleball court, you got the racquetball court, you got so it's a lively environment. You get to do all that stuff right here, right? We get to do it all together. And you start to, there's definite advantages to having multiple distribution centers, but those are all that's more moving parts, and you got to be prepared to add those moving parts on. And by doing robotics and automation, we don't have to make like a snap decision and do that, add another distribution center, right?
So if I hear you correctly, the goal for the automation and robotics in the warehouse so that you guys can play tennis and basketball all day and let the robots take care of the orders.
We don't play tennis. We play racquetball and pickleball.
Sorry.
But just I want to make sure that we got that right. Anyway, the key is actually it's not just automation and robotics. It's the combination of the great team I talked about earlier that we have in our distribution center. They're really the people, because the robots, and you'll see it, if you play any videos, Tiger, right, you'll see it on there. The robots don't have arms or anything, right? So I think, that's the other great piece of this is that you have people that are verifying what's getting picked, what's getting shipped. The robot pulls up to the area that the product exists, puts a picture on an iPad basically, and says, this is what you need to pick and how many of them, and this is where you need to put it. You still get that human verification. The team that knows the dental products, the team that can actually say, with barcodes, you scan underneath the barcodes, you have multiple checks from the human to the robot to the scanning system, make sure that product is right. So it's a good combination. We don't just get to play basketball and racquetball, but we like to do that too.
Yeah. So do you think you guys are you thinking about the Tesla Optimus robot at some point when it becomes available that you would put in a warehouse? Like, it feels like you would be fully equipped for that.
I'm definitely the wrong guy to ask about that. I think that we have a really great system in place right now. I think that the human element is really, really important. You can't discount the ability to make a decision when a decision has to be made, right? And you can't rely on a robot to do that. So I actually think one of the other cool ones is the VLM, the vertical lift module. Man, super cool. It's like if you ever been to a dry cleaner, right? And like the spinning like rack of clothes, right? Now you turn that on its side and you put a bunch of trays in there with a bunch of dental supplies in the trays, and you have 3 of them going at the same time, and it's pulling down a tray. It's shooting a laser down to what should be picked, and it's putting up on the screen how many of them you got to pick, and it's just super cool. But again, requires a human. They need to be able to read, that they need to make sure the product that's sitting in that container or in that compartment is actually the right product. So that extra check goes a real long way, especially when you're doing it across, let's say 16, 18,000 products that are sitting down there, right? So there's elements of all of that are really important. But I would love to have, you spend some time with some of our IT team and the guys that really kind of, the brains behind it. I just get to talk about it. Like, they did it all, So yeah, it'd be cool to have you really get some of the intricate pieces sometime. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think we'll do that. What was the kickoff process for this project? I'd love to have someone else tell you the true
pieces behind it all, because there was, you have to do things, you have to test things first, right? I think the crazy thing about when you add the robotics in, and I know it's not that I'm deliberately not answering your question, but the best way I can explain it to you, without having somebody that actually was really involved in it explain it to you. When you add a new robot to the system, or you add a new team member to the distribution center, you can kind of get that training up and going like within an hour, because the robotics are really a great hands-on learning tool. So of course you test things. You need to make sure that everything's going to go. You can't just shut down your only distribution center for like a day and say, well, we can't ship anything, right? That doesn't work. So you go through a lot of tests. You do tests on the weekend. You do tests at night. You need to make sure that everything's ready to go. And then you do a cutover, because that's the drop. That's the drop. All right, I guess we're going for it, right? And again, I'm the wrong guy, to really speak to everything that they went through. Meticulously planned and executed on, though, like, because you have to get it right, so they would be much better at speaking to that than I am.
Right. How long was the project? Like, how long did it take from the idea till the implementation?
Well, I think the idea had been floating around for a long time. And I'm talking about years of going to distribution center warehousing, events and shows, taking a look at all the different robotics that are out there, interviewing, multiple different clients, and even going through plans that were alternative to like robotics, and how, because no matter what, as you scale, you have to optimize, your distribution center. So, there was multiple plans that were in the works that didn't have to deal so much with automation and robotics. But as the technology, continued to advance, and you see more of it and more of it and more of it, and you just realize, like, okay, like, it's to that point now where we feel very comfortable putting something like that in. So it's not like it was let's say it's not like it was a 3-month plan, a 6-month plan. Like, this was years of it, because it's not only just like the technology change, right? It's now your entire distribution center needs to be mapped differently, and everything that you have, it has to be barcoded differently, barcodes that the robots can read, and not like a barcode that you're scanning for the product. Like, everything changes. Where you put things, how where your racking goes, where you're doing case pick, everything changes. So the process is something that is far greater than just planning. I'm gonna turn on 20 robots tomorrow. When you look at all of the moving parts that go on behind the scenes, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think most people don't ever even think about that. The challenging part of your business is you get pallets. Let's say you probably get like 3 pallets of 3M Filtech composite, all in one box, maybe different shades, but it's like, and then you need to ship one individual jar. You got to pick it up, put it in a box with lidocaine gloves and everything else, close the box, put a label, and it needs to go out. And I mean, I can only imagine the opportunity for something to go wrong is like incredible.
Yeah.
Somebody picking the wrong stuff, putting the wrong here and there. So that's amazing. And I think the other part that's fascinating is you have to measure everything down to like quarter inches because of the box sizes. And the box sizes matter because how much you pay for shipping, right? So
Yeah,
did any of this affect your shipping rates?
The 2-day, the
Mm-hmm.
2-day does, right? Getting everything across the country in 2 days certainly is an impact, right? From an automation perspective, there's areas that you can actually get more efficient sometimes. It's all dependent, right? Because you might have an office that you might have a practice. What they're doing is it's a lot of big, heavy stuff, right? And then other offices, it's really dependent, even on the practice type. Orthodontic office doesn't really get a lot of clinical from us, so they're buying a lot of their infection control products, and those are big, bulky, heavy items, right? But across the board, there's let's call it like the cost to ship something may have gone up, but the efficiency gains helps balance that, right? It's kind of the idea there.
Got it. So did you mentioned your team, and I'm curious, obviously you first start planning at the higher level, and then you got to get your warehouse team on board. Was there any pushback from the warehouse team in the beginning before they saw what that actually is going to do? Like,
I think anytime any organization goes through change, you're always going to have some fear, right? There's always going to be a little bit of that because you don't really know what's coming. But with great leadership from our ownership, on down, right? The buy-in, you can the buy-in to what this project is going to do, and then you start to show how these the warehouse team, the distribution center team, and the robots work hand in hand together, not independently. That's when people started to realize, like, this can make my day that much better. Like, instead of me pulling a cart around the whole warehouse, right? Now a robot's doing all that movement. I'm mastering like this area of what I do. And, that is certainly a much better day than walking around with a cart, right? So anytime though, like, and again, like our team that put this whole thing together, I can't speak, highly enough about everything they were able to do, because, we just talked about all this planning and all this, all this research, all this planning. And then you get to the other end of it, like, okay, now we have to manage how this takes off, and we have to manage all the people that it impacts. And, it's like, they really did an unreal job. And it's pretty amazing.
That's awesome. So what have you received? Like, what feedback have you received from the industry about this? Like, I know you guys shared this information, but what has been the feedback so far?
The best feedback, Tiger, is no feedback. Because,
can you explain?
Yeah. I mean, what you don't want to have happen, right, is you don't want a bunch of people saying, "Hey, I got the wrong stuff."
Yeah.
Hey, I got, the shipment wasn't right. What happened here? Or this stuff got all opened up. Or why did you send me 7 packages with one thing in each package? Right? That's what you don't want. So we didn't get, the feedback on that is you don't want the feedback, right? And the more silent things are, the better they are. So that, I would say, is a positive piece. We're just kind of really starting to talk about really, what we did and what we put together. We felt like the timing was right to get some of the, the releases out there that you saw from our marketing team. And this has been in place now since last summer, though. So you want to make sure that you don't get any feedback. That's what we were hoping for.
Yeah, that's what you guys were waiting for.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's awesome. But I think the my angle is the dental practices, right? So, like, because most listeners are going to be the dental practice owners and dentists and dental assistants, and so I always try to make sure that we bring the value to them. Like, when you are working with a distributor, when you are, like you said, you're working with somebody who considers themselves an extension of the supply closet. Like, you want the partner who values the ship time, the miss rate, and the price. So, like, it's always going to be like, on Zen, I constantly see, like, it's not just about the price. Like, we can have the cheapest product on the platform, but if it takes 2 weeks to deliver, nobody's going to buy it. It's just, they're not. Like, and we all know the dentistry. And so I feel like what I'm trying to say is, or ask you, is from a dental practice standpoint, that's pretty much makes a Dental City a very valuable partner, because you do provide a great price. You do have stock availability in the warehouse. And now you just, with this automation, you took the next step to get to the point where you minimize the miss rates, meaning more accurate orders are being shipped, or orders are being shipped more accurately. And then at the same time, it's just faster. And I think the one part that maybe you can elaborate a little more is, you mentioned that you briefly mentioned on today, but we also talked about it before, that when you consider scaling, you have an option to go in and open up distribution centers like in different cities, or with the right partner that can ship 2 days anywhere in the country, you could scale within the same place. Like, can you elaborate on this? Like, and how do you guys make that decision?
Well,
or
I
why
think
did you make that decision?
no, I think Tiger, it's really about everything you just talked about. Everything you just said is really about us being customer focused. For us, it's all about the practice, what the practice wants, what the practice needs. Why do we have a part? Why do we work with you, right? Because there's a lot of practices that are looking for this type of solution that you provide, and it's up to us to meet the customer, meet the practice where they want to be met. And I think that that's where like our choices in distribution and how like all of this whole project, right? For us, it's about distribution excellence. That's who we are, right? We're a distributor of product, and our customers can work with us however they wish to work with us, whether that's a text message. One of our great salespeople work with us through something like ZenOne, right? That's 100% the customer's choice, and it's up to us to deliver the goods the customer expects on time, and it's got to be the right stuff. No matter how they came to do business with us, that's our responsibility. And one of the ways that you do that is, like I kind of mentioned before, is until you're really ready to scale and put yourself in other distribution centers where you're going to have the same excellence out of that distribution center as you have here. You want to do as much as you possibly can here because you have the people, you have the knowledge, you have the investment, the people that genuinely care about what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. You want to do that for as long as you possibly can because it's going to be the best experience for the customer at the end of the day. And that's who we are. That's what we are. We're a customer-focused organization that is truly all about supply chain excellence. Like that's what people expect from us. And this is part of having great customer service. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's awesome. As we wrap up, because I mean, that was an episode specifically about that, right? So like
Yeah.
the automation. And again, I want to make sure that we have the videos and stuff so that people can see. As you wrap up, I mean, as we wrap up, what do you see in the next couple of years from a supply chain changes in the dental space? Like we've just gone through COVID. We've just gone through saline water, like challenges, right? So like, it's almost like we constantly have challenges, but what do you guys see in the next couple of years in the supply chain?
Yeah, this is more on the cost side of things. You get into tariffs and right, all that stuff. For me, not being a person that's heavily involved in supply chain, right, and what all the inner workings of what's happening behind the scenes, I'm not really sure what's coming. But what I know is, we're all about controlling what we can control. And what we can control is the right technology, the right people, the right investment at the right time, right? Like whatever's coming, everything we're doing now from an infrastructure perspective, right? Our goal is to prepare for whatever's coming. Our goal is to be ready to, scale. And you can add a robot within a day, right? You put another one down there, right? They're ready to go. It's awesome. You know what I'm saying? So this was really about that infrastructure preparation for whatever that is to come. Because if anything we've learned over the last 4 years is that, you can't really expect anything because you never know what's around the next corner. And I think that all you can do is really prepare yourself. And I think that that's what we've done a really nice job of through this project. Is it's not only the fact that we're really well prepared, right? And we have the infrastructure that's there, but we also, we're able to, again, being privately held, we're able to move quickly. We're able to adapt to the industry so quickly. That's a huge, huge plus for us, right? And then now you have this fantastic infrastructure. And then on top of that, you put a crazy plan in place, you work that plan and you executed on it, and what came out was something awesome. So you're ready to repeat that if you need to. So it's all about, it's all about preparation because you don't know what's around the corner. It'd be almost, you always are looking, you're always reading, you're always trying to find out more and more and more, but you're never going to be able to predict it exactly right. You just have to have the goods and you got to be ready to go when the time comes.
Yeah. It's so cool. And a theme that I hear is that you guys are private. I think we've worked really, really hard at Zen to stay private as well for as long as possible, like independent of any of the distributors, keep the stay unbiased as possible. So like this whole theme of like trying to be private, I feel like it's such a fascinating thing. Like it gives you so much freedom. It definitely takes a lot of patience. It's not easy. And I wish we can tell this story to more dental practice. Like if the private practice wants to align themselves for the future, what can be a better choice than working with other privately owned companies trying to do the same thing as you're doing in a private space? So like this whole like private practice movement is pretty big for us, and you guys are a big part of it. So I just wanted to underline what you said about you guys staying private as well.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, the flexibility, the agility, huge things. I think the other thing is, like I said before, you know, we're ready to meet the customer where they want to be met.
Yeah, that was big. It's very important.
And I think that that's the same thing for a practice, right? You know, every practice has to find, and so for some practices, it makes a lot of sense to be part of a DSO. And for other practices, it makes a lot of sense to use a procurement solution. And for others, it makes a lot of sense to, you know, work hand in hand with the salesperson when you need to, right? Everybody's got to kind of find their thing, and that's totally okay. And it's up to all of us to kind of work together to figure out what's in the best interest of the practice. And, you know, fortunately, we have the flexibility to be able to do that. And that's what, you know, every day is a little different, and that's what makes it fun.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well said. Jordan, thank you so much. It's always fun to have you. I don't think this is your first or the last appearance, so we'll do it again. But I would love to either do it in person and we get to interview your team who actually implemented it so that we can go into the details. Because I think that's the fascinating part. And not a lot of people are getting it and understand how to implement the automation and robotics into the warehouse. And I'm sure there's some doomers that think that this is going to end all the human societies. So like, that's a totally different subject, like outside of this podcast. I don't want to touch it on this pod.
That's
but
wise.
I think it would be really fun to have your team and interview them.
Okay, that sounds good, man.
Awesome. Jordan, thank you so much for being a great partner at Zen. So again, as always, super grateful.
All right, appreciate it, Tiger. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.